Hey, hey! Good morning, everyone. It's Monday, and we got time training this Friday. Hope everyone had a great 4th of July. I had an amazing 4th of July. Jakey Bakey, we sound great. How's the hair? John is already there. That looks good. Let's just join right away before we get right into it. Uh, got got to let our boy John join us here. Welcome, everybody. It's Monday. It's fun day. There he is.
What's up, my man?
How are you?
I'm doing well. What an honor to be able to talk to you before I head to Abu Dhabi. How are you doing?
I'm surrounded by everybody leaving. I kind of want to jump on the plane with you guys and get out of here. It's probably a lot safer in the hot desert. I love that place. Have you been before?
So we did a pay-per-view there last September when Khabib Nurmagomedov defended his title. So we've been there before to Yaz Island, but obviously a little bit of a different infrastructure that we're going to be walking into here in a few days.
Yeah. What do you think the difference will be from this year from last? What are some of the things with COVID and all the dropout and what
It's
difference you see?
Well, it's crazy. I mean, I'll tell you right now, I'm in a Vegas hotel room amidst a 36-hour quarantine. So if I order food on Grubhub, I can't even go into the parking lot and get it, right? Everything is completely batted down. There's no leaving the hotel. And hopefully, as we're talking here, I might get my result. It's negative. And if that's the case, then I'll be able to just go in the parking lot, go for a run a little bit. Then we charter out tonight, 48-hour quarantine in our rooms in Abu Dhabi. And for me, as a play-by-play guy, I can sit and prep all day. But for the fighters who are cutting weight to have to do that yeah, dude, it's a disaster for them. So we don't know exactly what we're walking into. All I can tell you is that it's a 10 square mile radius. Everything's going to be self-contained. And we're like 2 months into this right now. So I know for a lot of people, eventually you're going to rip the Band-Aid off. You're going to have some anxiety. We ripped it off in early May, and we're going strong now. This will be our 9th show. So
Yeah, no, they're awesome too, and it's interesting. Do you think that when they're cutting weight, they're going to have like huge rooms with just their own private gym? Like,
so
is that?
Yeah, so I think they've set up some private rooms. We are staying at the W Hotel, David, which is pretty nice, right? So I
Yeah,
think they've set up some bigger spaces for the athletes to get a sweat in. And it's simplistic to say just walk outside into the desert and cut weight because that doesn't foundationally set you up to compete optimally 2 days later or 3 days later. So, the first hurdle for most of these fighters was getting to the island, making sure they were negative for COVID. As you may know, we did lose half of our main event a few days ago, but Jorge Masvidal to the rescue. His COVID test is clear, and he's on his way to the island right now. So crazy times, man. But as much respect as I have for the virus, I think for a lot of us in the live event business, eventually we were going to have to go back to work, whether it was April 18th or May 9th or June 27th. And, I took my mask off to talk to you. Otherwise, it's on.
nice. And I'm in my closet. I actually reclosed my office just because of all the testing. In fact, one of the guests that's coming on today, his nanny tested positive for COVID. She was asymptomatic. He's freaking out, and it's, my kids' friends. I got 3 teenage girls, and I had to quarantine them for the holiday because their plans, they just couldn't understand how it's like one person at the party, right? Then go, and I'm
Right,
not worried about the kids. It's an
right.
anomaly if a kid gets really sick. That's an anomaly, just like the normal flu. If a little kid gets sick from normal flu and it's bad, it's an anomaly. But they take it home to grandma. That's
Well,
not an
right.
anomaly anymore, right?
Exactly right.
It's amazing. Well, I want to kind of get into the emotional aspect since I really believe in the energy and motion side of things, and I'm curious with the NFL season, NBA, MLB, how no fans just fighting there because it's one of the most emotional sports, and I do think one of the aspects that I fall into is I think I would have done better with no fans.
Yeah.
I'm just one of those people that got too excited, and I prepared so hard, probably over prepared, one of those kids that when I got to the moment with all the, like, it was just too much emotion, and I overdid it, and I got out of my head, so I'd strike out instead
Yeah.
of, like, now I play adult baseball, and I literally walk up and I'm a better hitter than I've ever been just because nobody's watching.
That's
How
the
does that
truth,
play
man.
into? Are there fighters that are the same way, you think?
There is no doubt about it. I think the most obvious example for me, Tisha Torres is one of our UFC strawweights. She had lost 4 fights in a row. she was so excited to compete without a crowd because she saw it as sort of a glorified sparring session. And it dovetailed much more with a training session than with a live event with fans and pressure and everything else. I can assure you I would have been a better high school basketball player if there was no crowd. I was always better on the road, terrible at home. I couldn't make a shot in my home gym because my girlfriend was in the stands. So you hit on a very salient point, and I do think for a lot of our athletes, maybe they grew up in the regional shows competing, you know, at strip clubs with the judges smoking cigarettes. I mean, in these small atmospheres, I think they are more comfortable competing. But there is a lot of emotion, I think, for fighters who have been quarantined for 3 or 4 months in their training camp. And then all of a sudden you come to the hotel and everybody's in mask and they're sticking a swab down your nose. And there is some trauma involved. And even Felix Hernandez, the longtime Seattle Mariners pitcher who stepped away from this season, you know, if you read into it a little bit, maybe it's speculation, but maybe he arrived, saw everything that was going on and just was put off by it and made uneasy, and just with money in the bank decided he was better served going home to his family. So it's a real thing. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and I think, you know, where does it go back to normal? I see things as pre-vaccine and post-vaccine, because I don't see mass gatherings happening, especially with the testing and the accuracy of testing, and, you know, no temperature. Now all the symptoms change, right? There's like no symptoms.
Right.
Like how do we ever get 60,000 people into a place until there's a vaccine?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I said to my colleague yesterday, I don't envision walking through Miami airport without a mask ever again in my life, you know?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of things that still have to be worked out. And as much as Dana White was bullish to get our live event schedule back up and running, he is the opposite of bullish when it comes to getting fans back in the building. I don't think he sees that as a reality in 2020 at all. And I also think alcohol is a component to that as well. You know, it sounds simplistic to say, all right, we'll have a fan every third or fourth seat. But when everybody starts drinking and you start to let your guard down a little bit, you're no longer socially distancing. As an announcer, I'll tell you, I mean, the crowd's a performance-enhancing drug for me. There's no doubt about it. So thankfully, headset on, you're in your tunnel. It's a pretty powerful thing, but I can't wait till we have fans back, because during those seminal moments in fights, we all raise our game with that energy.
Yeah, and I think too, there's a community aspect. It's one thing, like I'm going to watch the fights, right? I'm going to pay for the fights myself. It's amazing, but there's a community side of, I've spent, you know, the last 35 years going to huge events,
Right.
especially the last 25. Like that's my entire business. Warren and my entire business is based around the biggest events in the world, all of them. And, you know, it's like, I never thought I'd say this, but when I played college football, that last time I played, I told my mom, I'm like, I just suffered my first death. Like it was that big of a hole in my heart. That's the way I feel about not being able to go to a mass gathered event and see that. And I can't imagine as an announcer, you know, what it's like when you kind of turn around and realize.
Right. Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, you nail. It's nice when you have to go to the restroom because you're not battling with fans, because oftentimes, you know, we're on a headset for 7 or 8 hours. With respect to the other sports out there, I've done college football. You know, you blink, it's halftime. You get a 12-minute break. You do the second half. You go home in 3 or 4 hours. We're on a headset for 8 hours. So that is, I guess, the only part of not having fans that I kind of appreciate, is that when I need to go to the restroom, it's an easier navigation. But yeah, man, I just don't see a time in the immediate future where there's going to be anything resembling a live event crowd. And, you know, I think, as we talked about, even though for some athletes that can be a benefit, I think there are a lot of athletes, especially in a championship setting, that really want that crowd. They're used to that crowd. They feed off of that crowd, and they're going to have to find a different source probably for the next year or so.
Well, and I think to that aspect, like, look, do you think Jorge may have an advantage, you know, kind of being plucked in there with everything going on? You know, I would think the guys that have been planning for this, there's a lot of emotional energy. And I believe in attention plus intention equals coincidence. Sometimes, you know, being thrown into it, he has a huge advantage, I think, in this fight. And I'm looking at him with his past history. This might be a fight for him to take.
Yeah, no, I think you hit on something there that a lot of fighters talk about when it comes to a short notice fight. And when you sign a bout agreement and you have your traditional 8 or 12 weeks to prepare, you perseverate over that person. You're trying to keep the focus on yourself, but you can't help but look on Instagram and see what that fighter is doing. How hard are they going today? when you all of a sudden get a fight on 6 or 7 days notice, you're not perseverating on that individual for 8 weeks. And I do think it stands to reason that you become more focused on yourself. There's less time to think about things that really aren't going to matter on fight night. And then you just go let it rip. But Masvidal is such a veteran of the game that I'm not sure there's any fight atmosphere that's really going to phase that guy. I think his biggest issue is that his opponent, Kamaru Usman, is truly the greatest welterweight in the world. He's 11-0 in the UFC. And, David, it's hard for me to remember even a round that he's lost. His last fight against Colby Covington was pretty competitive. But for the most part, through his first 10 UFC fights, the guy barely lost a minute. So I'm excited to get there, man. I mean, these championship triple headers are rare. And especially with this COVID-19 backdrop, this show just feels enormous. So hopefully we get our negative test here in the next hour and it's wheels up later today.
Yeah, my favorite fighter, Paige Vanzant, she's ready, and I'm a big Paige fan, and I'm hoping that she brings it all as well. So I got two of my favorite fighters in there. I'm hoping they both win, but they're both up for the challenge. I mean, those are big fights.
Huge. And for Paige Vanzant, it's interesting because her career narrative is rooted a lot in injuries right now. She started her UFC career in 2014. So she's coming up on her 6-year anniversary on the roster. She's only fought 8 times. She's had some devastating arm breaks, multiple surgeries, and now hasn't competed since, January of 2019. And she's fighting Amanda Hebos, who is an absolute killer. I mean, Paige is plus 600. I don't know how much of that resonates with your audience, but Paige Vanzant is a huge betting underdog and not getting a lot of respect from Vegas this weekend. So I'm excited to see her back. I mean, she just lights up the room. She's such a sweetheart. It's so easy to see why her fan base has swelled the way it has. And I think she might surprise some people this weekend. I really do.
All right, last question. I know your fan base is swelling as well. You do such a great job.
Thanks, buddy.
The mustache, man. Everybody loves the mustache. I'm looking at the comments. I'm like, I love it. Are you going to keep it? What's the deal?
Well, at least to this point, Dana White hasn't taken issue with the mustache. So it's here for now. What's crazy, David, is that when you and I were growing up, this was no big deal, right? I mean, in the 1970s.
Only Steinbrenner. The mustache, only Steinbrenner, right?
But, I grew up with a father who had a mustache in the house. And so, I sort of wore it last week to try to feel it out. And I think people responded to it. But you, as a play-by-play guy, it's like, we're not trying to be the story. We're not trying to have the spotlight. But I like the look, and the mustache will be accompanying me to Abu Dhabi, yes.
I think it's great because cartoons are really big, and it really, having a mustache makes it much easier to build your caricature.
There you go.
But, man, you stay healthy. I know that test is coming back negative for you, which is a positive, and you just kill it. Keep on killing it. We'll talk to you when you get back. I certainly appreciate you taking the time from Vegas in this just enjoy those fights. I'm betting the underdogs, just so you know. We can come and talk about it on the back end.
Yes, we will reconnect on the back end. Always bet underdogs in mixed martial arts. And I appreciate the chance to chat with you. You've motivated me from afar for a while. And even yesterday, just talking about consistency, I forget who your guest was, but that really resonated with me because I still handwrite my fighter cards, which is a very antiquated system. And I'm listening to you and I'm like, hey, just be consistent. That's what you've done for 20 years. Don't fix it now, So
yeah, man, it'll exponentially grow and accelerate just like your career. Thank you so much, John. Have a safe trip. We'll see you when you get back.
Thank you, David. We'll talk soon.
Awesome. All right, John Anik, amazing. I'm jealous. I want to go so bad. I had Danica Patrick. We were talking yesterday about Monaco. She's doing a contest for the Danica Rosé wine. You know what I noticed? Look how cool these are. I have these working stiff deals. I'm wearing these dress shirts now, and they're magnet. So I like that. Sorry. Anyway, giving them a little bit of pitch. Where are they at? Go get your working stiff magnetized shirt things. Look good while you're in quarantine from the closet. You like that, Kate? All right, let's get a question involved here. What kind of intentions do you set while studying your calendar? According to my values. So that's really important, right? Attention plus intention equals coincidence. The intention that you set should be based on your values of what you want, not voting for what other people want. And, I set intention. Remember, everything around you, you've intended. and you've given meaning to that. You've given meaning to everything that you see. And so when you attend it and give meaning to it, you've increased the likelihood of it appearing in a more rapid and accurate way. I see my Saturday playbook guest here, July 1st special, Amanda Tress. Let's let her join us real quick. This is a great dad, John and Amanda. I wanted Jordan Schultz here today, but we may have to put him off for another day. I would take Amanda. There she is.
Hi, David.
Hi. How'd you enjoy the playbook on Saturday?
Oh, absolutely enjoyed it. Thank you
I,
so much for asking.
did you hear John talking about us in the consistency side? He's like, I forget who the guest was. And I'm like, hey, well, here she is. I got
Love
so many
it.
comments. It was so funny on July 4th. I was expecting people to like wish me a happy 4th. And I forget how
Yeah.
big the podcast is getting now. So I'm used to like family, like, hey, you know, enjoy our freedom. It's the greatest thing we have. And all I kept getting is like, oh, I love the podcast. I'm like, what
Oh,
about
no.
Dave Meltzer? Like, I'm family and friends. I get the podcast. But thank you for that, because I always say, you know, when you get one when I get a lot of comments, I know it's not me because I'm on every one. It must be the person who's with me.
Well, it's a team effort.
Yeah. Well, you know, the faster way, the way that you have, you know, helped so many people and continue to do so. I want to ask a question. What, you know, I'm on a lot of interviews as well. What was your favorite part about the playbook? Was there something that's different than other interviews that you do?
You know, that's such a great question. I really enjoyed your energy in particular. You are such a good interviewer, but you have a way of encouraging people. And I felt really energized after doing the interview, where often I feel exhausted or depleted because I'm just, being hit with so many different questions. But you have a way of motivating your interviewees in addition to your audience as we go through the conversation, which I really appreciated.
You know, what's so interesting is I started out and I didn't know what I was doing. And when I started realizing, ask the questions that you want to know, like that you're really curious about, instead of like, the interviews that killed me is when people like almost, and I mean, I hate to do this, but my mentor is one of the smartest people I've ever met academically, Lee Steinberg, right? Lee Steinberg, sports entertainment, famous sports agent. They made the movie Jerry Maguire about him. And he had a Yahoo sports show and he interviewed me for it. And I was like, so excited, like my mentor is interviewing me, you know, and it was like the interview, and I'm sorry, Lee, you can hate me all you want for saying this, but like literally it was like, so David, I see you are an adjunct professor at the University of California Irvine Law School. How do you like that? And
Uh,
I'm like, oh my God, this is not what I want. I want someone saying like, tell me about how you lost $100 million you bore on. You know, those, these are the questions, or how do you feel, you know, or how do you make
yeah,
people feel, or what's the biggest challenges that we have? And
absolutely.
so, you know, I'm starting a new, I've been doing this Kenzai thing,
Mhm.
and I really like it because they do things like with diet. One of the things they do to get you acclimated, because anything they do, they want you to do a lifetime. They have one thing right now I'm doing. It's eat a quarter less. Like,
Interesting.
yeah,
Mhm.
and just as a habit builder, not
Yeah,
as anything else. Just eat exactly as you are. So if you're gonna have a candy bar, leave a quarter, right?
love,
If you're gonna eat
love
French
it.
fries, leave a quarter of the French fries, whatever it is. And I loved it. I never heard. And now I used to, because I was an overeater. I'm not a big sweet guy. My problem is I grew up with 6 kids, not enough food. So like my mom would buy 2 large French fries at McDonald's when I was a boy, put them in a big bowl, and I'd eat as fast as I could to get
Yes.
as much, right. And so
Yes.
I had to take halftime when I ate.
Mhm.
And I'd walk away, and here's the funny thing: I've never went back to my plate and said, "Gosh, I wish I didn't do that." It's just like working out. I've never finished. I've started plenty of runs, going,
Mhm.
"I do not want to do this. I hate this," and I've never finished a run going, "Oh, I'm so bummed I did that. That was such a mistake."
Yes. Yes.
What is it about the human psyche that is like that?
Yeah, really good question. So psychologically, we actually only need those first one or two bites to really satisfy the craving, which most people think, well, if I have an entire piece of pie, I need to eat every last bite in order to feel that closure or that satisfaction, where it is a myth. And so it's funny, I just filmed a video for my community about alcohol, and I said, my perspective is I drink for that taste, but it's not necessarily for the game of getting drunker. And of course, I'm pregnant right now, so I'm
Right.
currently, not.
Easy for you to say.
But with treats, even that first bite tastes incredible. That second bite, maybe the third, but to feel stuffed and uncomfortable afterwards is actually going to give you more of a negative, uh, uh, you know, ending. So you're absolutely right. There's a lot of psychology around that, and I like that you are just starting with leaving a quarter. And then at some point, you could eat maybe half of what you used to eat if you're eating too much, if you're overeating. So, yeah, I think that's fantastic.
And then there's this balance too between exercise and nutrition.
Yes.
And it's so interesting for me because I see, people say 70, 80% of it's nutrition. And yet I really see an important part of exercise. And I don't think it's necessarily all positive to tell people, how the majority of what they look like is going to be nutrition, because maybe this is the wrong attitude, but I am a law of Goya person. Get off your ass, and
Yes.
I would rather somebody work outside all day in a ditch digging and this and that and eat whatever they want. And I think that person that puts that effort in and can eat whatever they want will be healthier and look better than the person that just is eating correctly. Now,
Mm.
is that wrong, or where does your perspective come into play there?
Yeah. So here's my perspective as a personal trainer first, and then certified nutrition coach. Nutrition, of course, is key. It's vital. We need to consume enough of the right macronutrients, carbs, fats, protein, and micronutrients from juices, green leafy veggies, other items as well. But fitness and nutrition go hand in hand. You should not have one without the other. You can, but you're going to be walking around kind of skinny, not a lot of muscle, not a lot of, body composition changes toward your goals. What we do in the faster way to fat loss is we combine a strategic food log with effective 30-minute workouts to really maximize our results. But not only that, to prevent issues in the future. We want to build up resilience and strength. We want to do a heavy lift and then pair that with a good amount of protein so that we have the opportunity to build strength and prevent osteoporosis and all of those important things. So, David, I think we need both. I wish it was one or the other. I wish there was
Yeah.
a magic pill and easy button. I truly do. I mean, how much easier would our lives be? But it takes hard work. It takes healthy foods, to function optimally.
And then there's also the matter, and this is from my sports background, I call it tendons, tissues, and bones. And
Mm-hmm.
that if all you worry about is nutrition, and I know a lot of people that do, is why I bring this up, is that you're not helping your tendons, your tissues, and your bones.
Yes.
Because, look at the NFL. I see so many injuries right now because they're not getting the workout on the tendons, tissues, and bones that they did. And I'm not saying don't protect the head, but I believe all that preseason stuff that guys go through condition their tendons and their tissues and their bones,
Yeah.
and that you'll never have a running back like a Walter Payton again that could withstand what he did because he was so fit.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the muscles, which God knows with all the supplements and proteins and healthy nutrition, we can build great muscle. But the tendons and tissues are important, and even the bones. And if you look at the greatest athlete that I've ever seen is Bo Jackson, who I think biochemically or physiology, he was born a freak of nature. He could bench 435 pounds without ever lifting, right? So I think his muscles fired too strong that his own bones and tissues could never handle the amount of power and that's why he ended up with the hip injury he did. And he was so extraordinarily strong. Well, I think that's a big problem today, is that people, they unilaterally focus and think, oh, my muscles are strong. They forget the tendons and tissues, that they have to last a long time as well. How do
Absolutely.
we work that side of the tendons and tissues and bones? Beyond nutrition actually helps, right? But on the
Right.
workout side, you are a trainer.
Yeah, and we have to do a variety of exercise. In my program, it's not a one size fits all. We bring in several different modalities. We do yoga, we have bar, we do high intensity interval training on certain days. For example, today is a low carb macro day. So we're pairing that day with high intensity intervals, but then we'll do strength training as well. So it's important that we have a holistic, very well rounded And you use the word unilateral. We do a lot of unilateral training when it comes to fitness, but then at the same time, we do many compound movements as well, body weight movements, variety is the spice of life. And it's important that we're cognizant of that when training.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about meditation? So the mental aspect of it.
Yeah.
How important do you see meditation, or at least the idea of sitting still?
So important. On Fridays and Sundays, we rest, and rest is a really important component of our program. We don't believe in going hard 7 days out of the week. We go hard 5 days in the gym, but we feature or focus on meditation. We did an entire month eliminating distractions and working on breathing exercises and meditation. Of course, yoga is an important aspect of that as well. And even now, when we are hit with so much stress in the world, it's important that we have the opportunity to clear our mind and to, consider those rest days so that we can renew and feel energized for the rest of the day to come.
And I have trouble resting. So what are some of the preferred movements? Because I like to move. So I'll go walking on my
Love.
restful days. But
Perfect.
what are some other things people should do besides meditate on a rest day? If they're OCD and like I am, and overdoers, as I was talking,
Yeah.
everything on my life is too much.
Yes.
What kind of things can satisfy? Because it's just like eating chocolate, right? One or two bites can satisfy the craving. I need something to satisfy my craving. What kind of off day things, movement and exercise, why are healthy?
We do low impact biking on rest days or active recovery days. A walk is perfect. If people could get out every single day for a walk, get some vitamin D, whether it's the rest day or you do that on top of your 30-minute workout, that is going to just make everyone happier. The world will be a better place. Yoga, bar workouts as well. Specifically, my ladies like the bar or the Pilates workouts a little bit more than the guys do. Even water sports, hiking, those are fantastic items. Getting out into nature on a hiking trail is great too. Here, I live in Florida, so we go to the beach quite often, and we'll do long walks or even, a little bit of jogging on the beach. That seems to be perfect.
How many minutes of stretching should we do?
Oh, that's a great question. So do what I say, not what I do.
You stole
I
my motto.
I think
I always
that
say Dave Meltzer, the biggest hypocrite. Do as I say, not as I do.
so. You and I probably have a similar personality where it's like, okay, I'm finished my workout. What's the next thing? I'm not really worried about slowing down for 10 minutes to stretch, but flexibility is key. In our program, we do have mobility exercises and some flexibility exercises even in our digital studio app. But yeah, it is important that you not only stretch, but that you're also warming up in the beginning of a workout. The last thing we want is whether it's an overuse injury or you muscle because you didn't properly cool down. Bringing that heart rate down is vital. So everyone should stretch. I'm not a good example of this, but yeah, great question.
Is it better to stretch before or after the workout? Or, I mean, obviously both probably better, but you had to choose which one.
After is really fantastic. Typically in the faster way, we do an active warm up with dynamic stretching. And then at the end of the workout, we'll do a little bit of stationary stretching.
And out of all the things that, the faster way to fat loss and all
Yeah.
of the things that you've learned, is there one, like, overall, like someone has given me a piece of advice, don't do anything that you won't do the rest of your life. Is there one lesson that you like to share? If someone say, where's that golden rule? Amanda, what would be like Amanda's golden rule?
Yeah. And I usually share 3 rules when it comes
That's
to
share them
overall
all. That's fine.
Okay.
We can go for 3.
It's hard to come down to one. When it comes to overall wellness and happiness and disease prevention and the ability to fulfill your purpose with energy, I share these 3 things. Intermittent fasting is key. Intermittent fasting is a great way to prevent disease. It will boost your immune system. You'll increase or sustain energy through the day. It can help prevent Alzheimer's, all kinds of other issues. Intermittent fasting is wonderful. Community is vital. If you are going at it on your own without support, without encouragement or guidance, it can be really difficult. to accomplish your goals and to maintain a particular lifestyle. So finding people who are like-minded, like yourself, David, who are passionate about a healthy lifestyle and growth, professional, physical, spiritual growth, I think is key. And then also consuming enough of the right foods, which sounds so counterintuitive because we were talking about actually eliminating a quarter of your food. But it's important that you're eating enough of the right type of carbohydrate. I'm not talking about donuts. I'm talking about sweet potatoes and fruits, eating the right amount of protein, eating the right amount of fats, and then having those micronutrients so that your body can optimally. If you have your health in order, then you will be able to thrive in so many other aspects of life as well.
And last thing, real quick, I'm a big quantum person. I believe that we have conscious, subconscious, but this unconscious competency that we're all born into a quantum level of, including health. And people will give me the argument, well, my grandpa smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day and drank, and he had a vat in, Thibodaux, Louisiana, and he lived to 101. And my argument has always been, well, if you understand the quantum nature of being, then he could have lived to 120, right? And so why, are we limiting ourselves? How important is it to look at our genetics? I always look and ask questions about my great-grandparents, grandparents, and my parents, just to figure out where's kind of that quantum level. So I am blessed to be, born into a family that lives a long time. We're kind of like turtles. We get shorter and balder and kyphosis, but we live a long time. So, how important is that in the aspect of what you teach with the faster way?
Bioindividuality is a thing. Genetics play a role. We do encourage our clients to consider their genetics, to draw blood work, to look at family history, of course. But it's also important to note that quality of life is a focus. We don't just simply say, let's live till 100 and smoke and do this and live like a hermit. We want you to feel fulfilled and to be satisfied and to live your very best life with that energy to do good in the world. We want you to look good, feel good, do good, and just instead of just kind of surviving. I have certain relatives who have lived very long lives. It comes to years as well, but at the end of their life, they kind of go back and say, I just did what my parents told me to do. I didn't fulfill my purpose. I wasn't kind enough. I wish I would have spent more time with you. And I never want any clients to feel that we should be living every day to the fullest. And whether it's 75 years or 95 years, we can really make a big difference in the world if we do it the right way.
I think that's a great way to end it. Be kind to your future self and do good deeds. That's been a golden rule of mine, and I know of yours, Amanda, as well. Well, you got to check out the Faster Way to Fat Loss. Where can everybody find you real quick?
Thank you for asking. You can find us on Instagram at Faster Way to Fat Loss. You can also find us online at fasterwaytofatloss.com.
And you can download the playbook from Saturday, July 4th edition. It kicked butt. It was amazing. You got to check it out. We had so much fun. And thanks again for joining me.
Thank you. Bye, David.
Have fun. Thanks, Amanda. All right. 2 great guests today. Let's get some questions. Natasha, great to see you. Thank you so much for joining as well. That's awesome. Chaz, I see you there. Here we go. Who you got? Masvidal or Usman? I think he had Usman, but I'm a big fan of Jorge's. Let's see here. Let me get some more questions in here. Would you like to support the Vital Wake movement? Send me some information, david@dmeltzer.com. Trainings on Friday. Haven't had that posted up there, but we do every Friday have training. It's on time management, using your time correctly, the manifestation of time. 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Every Friday is training. You can always email me at david@dmeltzer.com or text me at 949-298-2905. We are excited to have you. Team Meltzer, we got to pin that up there. I don't know what happens to the team. Here we go. Who's winning? I like Jorge, but Usman's incredible. I love that. How to have a vision for our life. Well, first of all, to have a vision, you got to know the what. So focus your time on knowing what you want according to your personal values, your experiential values, your giving values, and receiving values. Know your what. When we know your what, you now can pay attention to the what. You can see how things are looking towards that what, and you can have a vision. You can tie your emotions to that vision. You can have strategy and discipline to that vision. You can pay attention to and give intention to that vision, and that what is increasing the speed in which the vision materializes itself in your life. Key component there. You can see I pinned below free trainings on Friday, free, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern time. You can text me at 949-298-2905 to register, or david@dmeltzer.com. I look forward to everyone joining. We have thousands of people registered. Love it. Thank you. Favorite boxer of all time, Sugar Ray Leonard. Favorite boxer of all time and close friend. So incredible. I love Mike Tyson. I love Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, of course, Muhammad Ali. But Sugar Ray is the best of the best. No doubt about it. What does freedom mean to you? It means options. For me, freedom is having the options. So have options in your life. And thank you for, yes, david@dmeltzer.com. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, freedom is options. If you have options, you're free to make a choice. And that's what it means to me. It means something different to everyone. Of course, can we do an IG live session? Let's take this question here. Easy changes you make to your routine to improve health. 2 minutes a day, right? So start with 2 minutes a day in a routine. So it could be 2 minutes of something. And I have not been on Mike Tyson's podcast yet, but he might come on mine. We might do a swap. We were talking about it. Yeah, so just do 2 minutes a day. That's the best way to get started with any types of routine. Let's see here. How do you view planning? Does it help time management? Yeah, well, I'm a student of my calendar, right? I study my calendar every day. It's essential. Twice a day I do research, pay attention to, give intention to the things I have planned, the things I don't have planned, and the blank space in my calendar. So looking at all of that, without a doubt, the planning is essential. Would love that. 2 minutes a day is worth more than 2 hours on a weekend, guaranteed. Let's see here. What lesson do you feel is the most important? Honesty. Enjoying the consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential. So those are two things that are closely tied together, right? If your potential is the truth, how consistent and persistent are you pursuing that in your own life? And those are good questions. Thank you. Here. What's your greatest time hack? Finding 4 minutes a day. Find 4 minutes a day, you'll save 24 hours a year. So my greatest time hack is finding 4 minutes a day. And within that context, I can save everyone 2 weeks of productivity. Most people waste 80 hours a week looking for their keys, their wallet, and their phone. So find a place for your keys, wallet, and your phone, and you'll save, on average, 80 hours a year. That's 2 full weeks. I just gave you a huge vacation. I think we'll end on that. Everybody, join me Friday for our time management session. Free, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 949-298-2905, or david@dmeltzer.com. Join me for free training on that. Join me every day at 8 a.m. here on Instagram Live. Try to answer questions, have great guests. Enjoy. Thank you, everyone. And as Amanda told us, and I'm sure John would agree, be kind to your future self. Do good deeds. Thank you.